Hola, hi, and namaste. Welcome to Industry Insights by What Packaging. Today we have Ramu Ramanathan, who is the editor of What Packaging and Print Week.
And we also have Abhay Avadhani, who is a packaging engineer. Thank you for doing this, Abhay.
Thanks for the introduction. So, Ramu, you attended the PackMach Asia Expo and Drinktec India, which was held at the Bombay Exhibition Center from 13th to 15th of November. So,
Yes.
a lot of insights were shared during the 3 day show. So, what were your key takeaways from the event?
So first and foremost, very busy show. I think the team and you, that includes you. I think we were in by about 8:39 in the morning, and I think we were also the last ones to leave. One of the sessions which the team attended was something called Journey of an Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It was basically about the beverage industry.
Okay.
And I think there were two interesting talking points. One was about brand differentiation, and the other was how do you sort of utilize packaging to ensure market success.
Yes.
So especially when you're combating with the big brands, the A-list brands, the legacy players, etc. So there
Okay.
was an interesting conversation. One was with that I heard was with Saurabh Munjal. He's, as you're aware, Archean Foods Lahori Zira.
Hmm.
And he spoke basically of packaging as storytelling,
Okay.
and that how true brand storytelling is inherent in any sort of product packaging. And I think this is something our industry, especially the packaging fraternity, does not highlight enough. Things like labels, colors, design, even the packaging structure sometimes. So those things I think are absolutely crucial, and we don't shout about it enough. And what I think Saurabh Munjal was trying to highlight was how these can act as a conversation with the end consumer. So a lot of conversations, I think, about what to do with the end consumer engagement.
So, did anyone also touch up on the packaging for startups
Oh yes,
aspect?
and especially how to utilize packaging to do the positioning.
Yeah.
Because as you can imagine, launching a product in a country like India is a challenge.
Yeah.
So I think there was Sharan Kriplani of
Hmm.
Sober and Co, and he started talking about a lot of startups
Hmm.
and mainly unique packaging and
Hmm.
how you can utilize that to create what he called a wedge, WEDGE,
Okay.
and use this wedge to allow a startup to penetrate.
Hmm.
So basically, all the noise, all the crowd,
Sure.
and obviously other big brands which have lots and lots of money clout,
Hmm.
and the kind of distribution network that some of these legacy brands have. So to use this wedge quotient to be able to launch prototype quickly. And again, I think two things which whether it was Saurabh Munjal or whether it was Sharan Kriplani, what I think stood out is basically the pursuit of something called perfect design with packaging. And I think that is again something our industry needs to sort of think about, and also probably create better brands.
So there was also an interesting session which talked about balancing cost, compliance, and sustainability. Since this is one of the pain points of the industry right now.
True.
So what were the key takeaways from that?
Again, lots and lots sustainability. As you know, you I think visited something like what, around 50 to 60 stalls. I think almost every single stall was probably focusing on sustainability in some form. And unfortunately, it's one of those terminologies which means different things to different companies.
Hmm. Yeah.
So a lot of confusion. What does it mean from a compliance perspective? What does it mean from regulation perspective? Sometimes even the technology, what does it mean from that?
Of course.
Again, one session that was sort of interesting was Manjunath Nadella
Hmm.
of Strides Pharma Science. I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
you have interfaced with Strides Pharma
Sure.
Science, na? So there, I think basically four pillars, which are a kind of framework for the sustainability. So basically, design optimization,
Yeah.
sustainable solutions,
Hmm.
leveraging technology, and operations. These are broadly the four pillars this
Hmm.
Nadella had sort of highlighted.
Hmm.
In terms of design optimization, again, very, very similar to what I think Saurabh Munjal and Sharan Kriplani were saying, which
Hmm.
is over-engineered designs.
Yeah.
And more importantly, unnecessary use of materials, which is again a crime I think a lot of people within our industry commit constantly and all the time.
Hmm.
The second thing was, of course, sustainable solutions. And, again, this is something you've been sharing with us.
Yeah. Something like moving away from non-recyclable materials like
Correct.
PVC to PP or PE blisters.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the second thing, which again is this usage of QR codes.
Yeah.
And again, whether we can utilize this in a smart way to replace paper.
Of course.
So, and what is it? Patient information leaflets, PILs.
Hmm.
And the fourth, which was again an eye opener for me, was robotics.
Hmm.
I used to think this is science fiction and only found in Christopher Nolan films.
Hmm.
And then suddenly at this show, you realize that it's not just the big brands. So I think we went to two stalls together. We had gone
Yes.
to Synapse,
Yes.
Coimbatore based. Absolutely fabulous. And I think they have rolled this technology out in almost 8 big brands, including HUL, one of the beverage brands, a paint company, and then of course there was the Pune-based Rote.
Yes.
And I think they have a factory in Chakan, again doing something similar, and of course many more brands. So, robotic technology to reduce human hours in packaging, that was again an eye opener. And again, Manjunath Nadella,
Hmm.
highlighted that.
So in sustainability, cost is again the
Mm,
important factor which a lot of people talk about. And
correct.
there's one aspect which is the perception about the cost inclusion in sustainability, and one which is the actual reality of it. So
Correct.
what was the point discussed in
So
there?
again, innumerable conversations, but again, one which we overheard was Rahul Chaudhary of Britannia, and that the notion that sustainable materials are always more expensive,
Yeah.
and then arguing that the cost benefit analysis must include EPR, so
Yeah.
extended, producer responsibility.
Hmm.
So also the point that the potential for volume growth, and this again comes back to consumer preference.
Definitely.
Ultimately, what will are they willing to put the money
Hmm.
for, and so that was again a crucial kind of a conversation. But lots of experimentations, lots of innovations which are transpiring
Hmm. Hmm.
in this spectrum as well.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. There was also Jay Sridhar of Pure Play. He again talked of some of this innovation levers,
Hmm.
and he cited the use of IML, basically in mold labeling. And you've been again
Yeah.
showing us some samples in the office about the PET bottle as being a game changer. Yeah.
Yes, yes, which also reduces, adhesive use in the label material by 65%.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And freight costs, no,
Yep.
because you're moving volumes. Like I think Bisleri, who are our neighbors here in this next to our studio,
Hmm.
I mean, they do something like 1 billion bottles,
Yeah.
So movement of that. I mean, every time we are exiting the office, we see these, humongous
Yeah.
queue of trucks which are just freighting, bottles. So it's mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we consume water, it just seems like a sip of water or two sips of water, but the movement of these materials is this entire idea of basically supply chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apart from these trends, there was
Yeah.
another trend which was also discussed in the PackMach Road Show, which
Mm.
was held on 1st of November,
Okay.
which was digitization in the
Mm.
packaging supply chain.
Correct.
So what was the session in the exhibition?
Again, digitization also is so many multiple, factors to it. There's blockchain, there's traceability, there's real-time tracking. I mean, again, as you can, and then integrating some of this on the,
Yeah.
and again, what we are finding in the name of digitization is, machines and systems talking to each other
Of course.
and the integration. So
Hmm.
that is interesting. But I think couple of things. One is transparency,
Hmm.
and I think there was Ram Bhadoria of Unilever.
Okay.
He basically spoke of almost 100% digital traceability,
Wow. Yeah.
and this was again very simple barcoding, QR codes, etc., and how this can be a compliance standard. So two things happen. One is customer complaints, so which means engagement with customers, etc.
Yeah.
And at the same time, even for a distributor and a kind of a retailer, you can actually trace the exact factory shift and raw material batch, and
Yeah.
that sometimes even go to source material. So that I think was sort of fabulous, and the fact that this is happening much more organically than
Yeah. Yeah.
it used to happen maybe before COVID, and now the fact that it's also across many spectrums, I think that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Then your friend Amit Kale of Reliance, he
Okay.
also sort of spoke of sort of highlighting real-time data
Hmm.
using
Hmm.
which helps reduce wastage
Okay.
in logistics.
Hmm.
So again, it was a simple thing which he demonstrated. It was the future of packaging SIM cards.
Wow.
So this is kind of activated QR codes,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then also interestingly enough, from a printer perspective, was that it reduces ink on a
Hmm.
machine.
Hmm.
So basically, reduction of multicolor printing,
Hmm.
and obviously then links in with sustainability in
Hmm.
that sense. Yeah, yeah.
So, is there any discussion that happened among the lines of anti-counterfeiting in this aspect?
Right. So I think that happened, but there was Kanishka Basudas of Hershey, India,
Hmm.
who also, for instance, connected digitization to the age of quick commerce,
Hmm.
and that was interesting because this session I attended, there were a lot of very very young people around me in the audience, so they could sort of respond to this.
Wow.
So one was how do you sort of transform the supply chain, number
Hmm.
one, and number two is this kind of transparent ecosystem.
Hmm.
I mean, what are you consuming? And then, of course, tracking your delivery boy in that sense. So this kind of a thing. And then, of course, the fact that you can always, with the help of a simple QR code,
Hmm.
it acts as a deterrent against
Hmm.
counterfeiting. So that again was sort of,
Hmm.
in a way, kind of
Hmm.
super fascinating. Yes.
Yeah. So this PackMach Asia Expo was, all about machineries and automation. And since you also touched upon robotics, so there was one interesting session which covered packaging machinery with Industry 4.0. So
Mm.
what were the observations there?
Yeah, so that I think was almost on the one of the last panel discussions which I attended.
Yeah.
So this was hosted by Ainan Shaidi. In
Hmm.
fact, the others were also, I think, hosted, moderated by him.
Hmm.
And there were 3 panel speakers. Again, an interesting session because you have somebody from Imami, somebody from Festo, and somebody from Pidilite.
Yeah.
And again, multiple points of view. I think 2, 3 things emerged in that. One is what was transpiring, say, 2 decades ago, and the
Hmm.
kind of practices we used to follow, as opposed to what we are doing today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once upon a time, it used to be only the skill gap problem that we had, and the second thing was predictive,
Of
maintenance.
course.
And now, what the industry is trying to do, and at least some of the factories are sort of doing that.
Yeah.
So Sanjay Madan, who was there from Imami, he sort of spoke of this machinery 4.0,
Hmm.
and mainly again some of the things that we've been alluding to: automation, connectivity,
Hmm.
and basically intelligent systems.
Hmm.
And the fourth was, of course, this kind of remote monitoring,
Hmm.
because earlier it used to be that you had to be on the job, on the floor, and literally oversee every single product sample going out of your factory floor. But now this kind of overall monitoring of various kind of product samples and product collaterals and so on.
Hmm.
So, and the other thing that's coming is how you can use data
Hmm. Yeah.
to analyze all of this, and then obviously with the help of smart sensors.
Yeah.
So again, I think Abhay, you and I, we kind of did, I think, 4 sessions, where we walked to different
Yeah.
stalls, and where the role of smart sensors is just enabling, either in terms of counterfeiting, in terms of testing, or even sometimes in just very simple things like metal detection
Hmm.
in sort of food grade or pharma kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So obviously 2 things happen. One is the role of the operator, the traditional operator, and the
Hmm.
second is, of course, preventing failure, and failure
Yeah.
can be of many kinds. So that again was super
Yeah.
interesting.
Something like using machine learning for
Correct,
predictive maintenance.
correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct. And then, of course, there was Ranjan Singh Chadda of Festo.
Yeah.
We also have recorded a video with him where he's
Yes.
spoken about Festo role. I think what that organization is doing was again kind of fascinating. And again, you begin to realize how something that can be just, a sort of use of AI, use of
Hmm.
smart connectivity, and the possibility and potential for that.
Hmm.
So again, for our listeners who are listening into this, Festo is sort of based in Bomasundra, which is next to Bangalore,
Yeah.
and they are moving on to Hosur, as he had
Hmm.
sort of shared with us, and it's a sort of multi-acre factory, etc.
Yeah.
So again, you begin to realize the necessity and the requirement for this, and
Of
how
course.
India has an appetite for this.
Hmm.
He spoke of 2 things, that is Ranjan Singh Chadda. One was these audits,
Yeah.
if you recall. Yeah, that was again most sort of, and then how do you use audits to really monitor what is transpiring in a factory and improve the entire thing,
Yes.
and then create sort of modules, which, so every time it need not be a sort of big factory kind
Hmm.
of a thing. So I think these were some of the really, really fascinating things that are happening in terms of the PackMach show and the Drinktec
Wow.
show.
Yeah.
All 3 days extremely fascinating,
Wow.
extremely fascinating. Yeah,
Wow. So the buzzwords are actually converting into the focus points for the industry right now. Like, for
correct,
example, automation, AI, and sustainability. So
right.
I think 3 things, Ramu, from emerged from this discussion, which was, first one was, of course, to have a consumer-centric vision
Oh yes,
for the packaging
yeah,
industry
yeah.
to when you're creating a package, and secondly, to have that transparency between your brand and the consumer. And of course, the third is, giving them a breakdown, like for example, pricing breakdown or visual
Mhm.
breakdown of the
True,
ingredients, or
true.
about the pricing that you are using for the manufacturing.
And also, I think every single tool part that goes into a machine.
Of
And fourth
course.
is, of course, sustainability,
Yeah.
because I mean, the goal is, of course, plastic neutral, but also, for example, more and more usage of PCR,
Yeah. Yeah.
post-consumer recycled. And then, of course, I think 2 other things we saw. One is this exploring of biodegradable BOPP
Mm-hmm.
films. And
Yeah.
again, I think at the show there were 4 or 5 film manufacturers. And
Hmm.
again, interesting trend there was that I think many factories being set up in Jammu.
Hmm.
which is again interesting for our industry, that the geographical states used to be these 6 or 7. Now you see the growth happening pan India in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sense. And then the second thing was, of course, paper based solution for single use sachets. So that
yeah.
again, these are again some of the small things. There were many more which we can probably catch up with on another.
Yeah, so the PackMach Asia Expo and Drinktec India not just saw these trends, but also saw the adoption of these trends.
Many of these trends, yeah.
Yes, yes,
And across centers, no,
of
that way, yeah,
course.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And conversations, I think what was fascinating was, if earlier we heard conversations only in English, we now heard them in Gujarati, in Kannada, in Tamil,
yeah,
in Punjabi, Jammu, in
yeah, yeah,
in the Kashmiri language, which was great, which was
yeah.
great.
So thanks, Ramu, for giving us these insights. So to our audience, please stay tuned with us for the next industry insights by What Packaging, and see you soon. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Abhay.